A look back at the 82 World's Fair tonight at 10 on News Channel 5.
Someone new, but is she a killer?
I just hope she's on our side. Russian.
Don't make me kill you.
Next Wednesday, Raven.
Times Square, the heart of New York, pulsing, alive, and this year, thriving with a revival of Broadway's finest. The noise, the horns, the crowds, this is New York. If you can make it here, they say, you can make it anywhere. Well, just a few blocks south of here in Madison Square Garden, the Democrats are counting on a revival of their own. A revival that will put Governor Bill Clinton and the Democratic Party in the White House. Tonight, they're looking to the inspiring voice of New York's own Governor Mario Cuomo to set the stage. The curtain is going up. Get ready for the next act of the Democratic National Convention.
Campaign 92, the Democratic National Convention. Live from Madison Square Garden in New York City, here is Dan Rather.
Good evening and welcome to the main floor of the main event. New York's Madison Square Garden delegates here for the culmination, the nomination of Bill Clinton, the candidate to be by the man who might have been New York's Governor Mario Cuomo. Making things perhaps just a little bit easier for Mario Cuomo as he steps into this pressure situation where so much is expected of him tonight are two things. First of all, the results of some new polls. A new CBS News poll and an independent bipartisan overnight poll both indicate that Governor Clinton's message, what he'd hoped for most to get out of this convention, the message of change, may indeed be getting through to voters. Also helping at least a little is the fact that independent candidate for president-to-be Ross Perot today lost one of his main players, Ed Rollins, out of there in Dallas. More about that perhaps later on. Still, this is crunch time for Mario Cuomo for two reasons at least. First of all, so much is expected of him after his great keynote speech in San Francisco in 1984, and also the fact that it's very hard to make a great, truly great nominating speech. Remember the last time when Cuomo made his reputation, so to speak, it was the keynote speech. This time, this is the nominating speech, and almost no one can remember the last time a really great nominating speech was made. Now, earlier this evening here in Madison Square Garden, they were ringing down the echoes, a tribute to a fallen hero, the late senator from New York, Robert Kennedy. This tribute was played some little while ago before we reach this point, the point where the delegates are now seeing a film building up to the Mario Cuomo nominating speech tonight. Let's go to the podium and CBS News correspondent Bob Schieffer. Bob?
Thank you, Dan. And for whatever the reasons, this convention is working for Bill Clinton. It is accomplishing just what his people hoped it would. It is giving people outside the hall a more favorable impression of Bill Clinton. So let's go back to Dan now. Dan?
And let's go straight up to the podium. Mario Cuomo facing the pressure, facing the crowd, and walking to the microphone.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't want to go over time. They warned me I might wind up playing the accordion on the Arsenio Hall show. So let's... Tonight I will have the great privilege and honor of placing before you the name of the next President of the United States of America, Governor Bill Clinton of Arkansas. It seems to me that this is not a matter of our wanting Bill Clinton. It is much, much more than that. We need Bill Clinton because he is our only hope for change from this nation's current disastrous course. Eight years ago, in San Francisco, some of us tried to convince America that while President Reagan was telling us we were all one shining city on a hill, there was another city where people were struggling, many of them living in pain. And we tried to tell America that unless we changed policies, unless we expanded opportunity, the deterioration of the other city would spread. Well, we Democrats failed to reach enough Americans with that message, and now the nation has paid an awful price. We cannot afford to fail again. The price is too high. For the first time in their lives, millions of Americans who took for granted the basic right to make a living with one's own hands and mind and heart have been denied the dignity of earning their own bread. Today, a 50-year-old father lives nearly in terror at the prospect that if he is laid off now, as so many people around him have been, in addition to losing everything else, he'll lose his health insurance too. What if I'm struck by cancer? My God, what about the mortgage? What about my son in college and my daughter who's graduating high school? How will they get an education? And when will they find a job even if they get an education? How could it have happened in a country where the executives of companies that fail, the presidents and chairmen of companies that make profits by trading solid American jobs for cheap labor overseas can make $5 million, $10 million, $15 million a year? How did it happen? How can our middle-class workers be in such terrible jeopardy? 1 million children a year leaving school for the mean streets. 1 million a year surrounded by prostitutes and drug dealers, by violence and degradation of all kinds. Some of them growing up familiar with the sound of gunfire before they've ever heard an orchestra. Becoming young adults only to be instructed by the powerful evidence of their surroundings that there is little hope for them. Even in America, nearly a whole generation surrendering in despair to drugs, to having children while they're still children, to hopelessness. How did it happen here in the most powerful nation in the world? It's a terrible tragedy, not only for our children, but for all of America. They are not my children, perhaps. Perhaps they are not your children either. But Jesse is right. They are our children, and we should love them. We should love them. That's compassion. But there's common sense at work here as well, because even if we were hard enough to choose not to love them, we would still need them to be sound and productive, because they are the nation's future. It would be bad enough It would be bad enough if we could believe that all of this unhappiness and failure is a result of a terrible but only a temporary recession. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is more than a recession. Our economy has been weakened fundamentally by 12 years of conservative Republicans' supply-side policies, so-called. In fact, supply-side was just another version of the failed Republican dogma of 65 years ago, then called trickle-down, which led to the Great Depression, and it has failed us again. Think about supply side. Supply side operated from the naive Republican assumption that if we fed the wealthiest Americans with huge income tax cuts, they would eventually produce loaves and fishes for everyone. Instead, it made a small group of our wealthiest Americans wealthier than ever and left the rest of the country the crumbs from their table. Unemployment, bankruptcies, economic stagnation. Today, as we've heard so many times, a $400 billion annual deficit and a $4 trillion national debt hang like great albatrosses around our nation's neck, strangling our economy, menacing our future. Remember, we became a great nation by making things and selling them to others for their marks and their yen. But today, we buy from Japan and Germany and other nations the things we used to make and sell to them. Automobiles and radios and televisions and clothing. Giving them our dollars for their goods. And then at the end of the year, because we spend so much more than we collect in these reduced taxes, we borrow back those dollars, paying billions more of our dollars in interest, increasing our debt, decreasing our ability to invest in our children, our schools, perpetuating a mad economic cycle that threatens to spin us totally out of control. In no time at all, we have gone from the greatest seller nation, the greatest lender nation, the greatest creditor nation, to today the world's largest buyer, the world's largest borrower, and the world's largest debtor nation. That is Republican supply side. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the legacy of the Bush years, the slowest economic growth for any four-year presidential term since Herbert Hoover. An economy crippled by debt and deficit, the fading of the American dream, working-class families sliding back down toward poverty again, deprivation, inexplicable violence. And after 12 years, Americans are disillusioned, and they are angry, and they are fearful. And Americans showed that with the quick embrace they gave to the sudden appearance on television of a provocative, wealthy businessman who said he'd like to be president. Before he told anyone what he intended to do or how he would do it, he used one word, and applause broke out all over America. The word was change. Of course the American people want change. Of course we want something better than George Bush and the politics of decline, decay, and deception. And beginning with this convention, we, you and I, must demonstrate to all the American people that change for the better is at hand, ready, able, eager to serve, in the person of, yes, Governor Bill Clinton of Arkansas. And this time we cannot afford to fail to deliver the message, not just to Democrats, but to the whole nation, because the ship of state is headed for the rocks. The crew knows it. The passengers know it. Only the captain of the ship, President Bush, appears not to know it. He seems to think, no. You see, the president seems to think that the ship will be saved by imperceptible undercurrents directed by the invisible hand of some cyclical economic god that will gradually move the ship so that at the last moment it will miraculously glide past the rock. Well, prayer is always a good idea, but our prayers must be accompanied by good works. We need a captain who understands that and who will seize the wheel before it's too late. I am here tonight to offer America that new captain with a new course before it is too late, and he is Governor Bill Clinton of Arkansas. Bill Clinton understands that a great political party must apply the best of its accumulated wisdom to the new configurations of a changing reality. He cherishes the ideals of justice and liberty and opportunity and fairness and compassion that Robert Kennedy died for. But he knows that these ideals require new implementations, new ways to provide incentive, to reward achievement, to encourage entrepreneurship, to develop jobs. Bill Clinton believes, as we all here do, in the first principle of our democratic commitment, the politics of inclusion, the solemn obligation to create opportunity for all of our people, not just the fit and the fortunate, for the aging factory worker in Pittsburgh and the school child in Atlanta, for the family farmer in Des Moines and the eager immigrants sweating to make their place alongside of us here in New York City and in San Francisco. For all the people, for the bright young businesswoman in Chicago, all the people from wherever, no matter how recently, of whatever color, of whatever creed, of whatever sex, of whatever sexual orientation, all of them equal members of the American family, and the neediest of them, deserving the most help from the rest of us. Now, that is the fundamental democratic predicate. Surrender that democratic principle, and we might just as well tear the donkeys from our lapels, pin elephants on instead, and retreat to elegant estates behind ivy-covered walls where, when they detect a callus on their palms, they conclude it's time to put down their polo mallet. Bill Clinton believes that the closest thing to a panacea that we have is described by a simple four-letter word: work. He has been living that truth all of his life. So Bill Clinton believes that what we most need now is to create jobs by investing in the rebuilding of our cities, the shoring up of our agricultural strength, by investing to produce well-trained workers, new technologies, safe energy, entrepreneurship, laying the foundations for economic growth into the next century with free enterprise for the many, not free enterprise for the few, pulling people off welfare, off unemployment, giving people back their dignity and their confidence. And unlike the other candidates, and they all talk about jobs, Bill Clinton has a solid, intelligent, workable plan to produce these jobs. But President Bush disagrees with Bill Clinton. President Bush says we cannot afford to do all that needs to be done. He says we have the will, but not the wallet. Bill Clinton knows that we have the wealth available. We have proven it over and over every time the dramatic catastrophe strikes. Remember the savings and loans? Governors and mayors had gone to Washington, and I was among them, to plead for help, for education, for job training, for roads and bridges, for drug treatment. Sorry, there is none, said the president. We're broke. We have the will, but not the wallet. And we put our heads down. And then Americans discovered that wealthy bankers educated in the most exquisite forms of conservative Republican banking through their incompetence and thievery and the government's neglect had stolen or squandered everything in sight. The world's greatest bank robbery. And we heard no moralizing about values then from our Republican leaders, did we? No. See, instead of castigations, mirabile dictu, all of a sudden the heavens opened and out of the blue billions of dollars appeared, not for children, not for jobs, not for drug treatment or for the ill or for health care, but hundreds of billions of dollars to bail out failed savings and loans, billions for war, billions for earthquakes if they strike, God forbid, and hurricanes. And Bill Clinton asks, if we can do all of this for these spectacular catastrophes when they occur, why can we not find the wealth to respond to the quiet catastrophes that every day oppress the lives of thousands, that destroy our children with drugs? All the quiet catastrophes. The quiet catastrophes that kill thousands with terrible new diseases like AIDS, that deprive our people of the sureness of adequate health care, that stifle our future. Bill Clinton asks the question. Bill Clinton has the answer. And America needs Bill Clinton too, because he understands that we must deal with what could be eventually the most lethal problem of all, a degraded environment, one that kills life in our lakes with acid rain, allows cancer-causing rays to pierce a deteriorated ozone shield, and threatens to convert the entire planet into a cosmic hothouse. Bill Clinton made clear how well he understands that when he announced Senator Al Gore would be the next Vice President of the United States of America. America needs Bill Clinton. America needs Bill Clinton for still another reason. We need a leader who will stop the Republican attempt through laws and through the courts to tell us what God to believe in and how to apply that God's judgment to our schoolrooms, our bedrooms, and our bodies. Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton knows the course from here past peril to a new era of growth and progress for this nation that will enable us to share our power and our abundance with the whole world community. He was born and raised, fortunately for us, with all the personal attributes needed for leadership: God-given intelligence, vitality, and an extraordinary quality of character that allowed him to survive the buffeting and the trauma of a difficult youth. He was born poor in Hope, Arkansas. Now the accents, even the colors may have been a tint different, but the feelings were the same that many of us experienced on the asphalt streets of some of the nation's great cities. The same pain, the same anguish, the same hopes. He has lived through years of hard challenges since that difficult youth, and with each new challenge he has grown wiser and stronger, as he demonstrated so well with his remarkable resiliency in the recent bruising Democratic primaries. I will tell you this, in a world of fragile and thin-skinned politicians, he was an admirable aberration. Bill Clinton has always been driven by the desire to lift himself above his own immediate concerns, to give himself to something larger than himself. His entire life has been devoted to helping others through public service. And for 11 years now, he has been the governor of his beloved state, protecting Arkansas from a federal government that has been depriving the states and cities for over a decade, balancing 11 budgets in a row, doing the things that governors and presidents are supposed to do, enforcing the laws, providing education and opportunities for children and young adults, expanding health care, attracting new jobs, and reaching out to heal wounds caused by 300 years of unfairness and oppression. He has done it so well that the nation's other governors, both Democratic and Republican, have repeatedly acknowledged him to be a national leader. All this time, Bill Clinton has worked to relieve other people's discomfort because he remembers his own struggle. That's why we need Bill Clinton, because Bill Clinton still remembers, because he is equipped to break the awful gridlock in Washington and to deliver effective government finally, because he will remind the nation that we are too good to make war our most successful enterprise. That's why we need Bill Clinton. We need Bill Clinton because he does not believe that the way to win political support is to pit one group against another. Bill Clinton does not believe in the cynical political arithmetic that says you can add by subtracting, you can multiply by dividing. He rejects that. Instead, he will work to make the whole nation stronger by bringing people together, showing us our commonality, instructing us in cooperation, making us not a collection of competing special interests, but one great special family, the family of America. For all these reasons, we must make Bill Clinton the next President of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, a year ago, in this great city, led by our great Mayor, Mayor Dinkins, we had a great parade in New York City to celebrate the return of our armed forces from the Persian Gulf. I'm sure you had one too. But as joyous as those parades were, I'd like to march with you in a different kind of celebration, one regrettably that we cannot hold yet. I'd like to march with you behind President Bill Clinton through cities and rural villages where all the people have safe streets and affordable housing and health care when they need it. I want to clap my hands and throw my fist in the air, cheering neighborhoods where children can be children, where they can grow up and get the chance to go to college and one day own their own home. I want to sing proud songs, happy songs, arm in arm with workers who have a real stake in their company's success, who once again have the assurance that a lifetime of hard work will make life better for their children than it had been for them. I want to march behind President Bill Clinton in a victory parade that sends up fireworks celebrating the triumph of our technology centers and factories out producing and outselling our overseas competitors. I want to march with you. I want to march with you knowing that we are selecting justices to the Supreme Court who are really qualified to be there. Justices who understand the basic American right of each individual to make his or her own private moral and religious judgment. I want to look around and feel the warmth, the pride, the profound gratitude of knowing that we are making America surer, stronger, and sweeter. I want to shout out our thanks because President Bill Clinton has helped us to make the greatest nation in the world better than it's ever been. So step aside, Mr. Bush. You've had your parade. It's time for change. It's time for someone smart enough to know, strong enough to do, sure enough to lead, the comeback kid, a new voice for a new America. Because I love New York, because I love America, I nominate for the office of the President of the United States, the man from Hope, Arkansas, Governor Bill Clinton. Doing what he was assigned to do, hit the basic themes that Governor Bill Clinton wanted hit in the speech that nominates him for his bid to be President of the United States. Theme number one, America needs jobs, and Bill Clinton has a plan to produce more jobs. On that, in essence, said Mario Cuomo, Bill Clinton can and will deliver. Theme two, time for change after 12 years of failed leadership in the Democrats' view. Theme number three, we the Democrats are the unifiers, and so on down the line. Now there'll be two major seconding speeches. Maxine Waters, Congresswoman from Los Angeles, David McCurdy, Congressman from Oklahoma, will be following to the podium Mario Cuomo. But it was Cuomo who was to set it up, lay the groundwork for Governor Clinton's own acceptance speech tomorrow night. Let's go to Susan Spencer, the New York delegation, for reaction. Susan?
Dan, between the shouts of Mario, I hope you can hear me. This was clearly the place to listen to Mario Cuomo's speech. The New York delegation went wild over this, responding to every jeer and every satirical jab at President Bush. I think from the standpoint of the Clinton campaign, they could hardly have asked for more. As you said, the emphasis on leadership, on the concerns of the middle class, and especially on change. Now the question may be whether Bill Clinton can match this speech. Dan?
Now let's go over for to the California delegation with CBS News correspondent Ed Bradley. Ed? Dan, I think Susan was in a good place to hear it in New York, but I've got to tell you, this speech played well all over the hall. I'm not far away from the California, closer actually to the District of Columbia. You hear people shouting now, "We want Bill and we want Mario." He did everything in this speech that they wanted him to do. He outlined the problems in this country, the perceived shortcomings of the administration in handling them, and the strengths and the ideals and the plans of Bill Clinton to take care of those problems. It was a speech that was well paced, it was well received. I'll tell you, it was about 6 or 7 pages long if you look at the printed version, and that last page was a real stem winder, and people down here really reacted well to it. Dan?
Ed, that's true. In the 4 or 5 delegations we've had a chance to check with very quickly, that was pretty much the reaction. Particularly did Cuomo do a good job of building to a crescendo in those last 2 or 3 pages. Our CBS News coverage live from Madison Square Garden's floor in New York City will continue in a moment.
Thomas's daughter Wendy loves ranch dressing, so Dave rustled up a delicious new sandwich, Wendy's Monterey Ranch Chicken Sandwich. It's a whole chicken breast fillet with cheese, but not just any cheese, Monterey Jack. And to top it off, he cooked up a ranch dressing with an extra special touch, real bacon. The Monterey Ranch Chicken Sandwich, a great new taste you can only find at Wendy's.
Hey, Wendy. Oh, well, I guess I have to eat it myself.
A look back at the 82 World's Fair tonight at 10 on News Channel 5.
This was me before I lost 34 pounds in 5 months.
That was actually me before I lost 42 pounds in 5 months.
That was me before I lost 40 pounds in 6 months.
They all did it on the Ultra Slim Fast No Hunger Diet Plan. A delicious shake for breakfast, another for lunch, a sensible dinner, and 3 great tasting Ultra Slim Fast snacks a day.
And the snacks helped me through the hungry parts.
Chocolate bars, what's better than that?
It's great.
The Ultra Slim Fast No Hunger Diet Plan. Losing weight and feeling great.
If your child was sick, how far would you go to save her? Do you believe in miracles? An all-new 48 Hours returns next Wednesday.
Freeze! She was framed and convicted.
I have 3 children.
But her kids and her sister are the ones who must pay the price.
I want my mommy! What am I going to tell them?
The true story of one woman fighting for her freedom and her family.
My kids are out there without a mother.
Cheryl Ladd, Jean Smart, Locked Up, A Mother's Rage, Sunday.
Bo loves working out doing 60 minutes. When the show's over, Bo knows it's time to do push-ups with his other arm.
Northern Exposure, Monday on CBS.
We're back just off the floor of Madison Square Garden with the Reverend Jesse Jackson. First of all, Reverend Jackson, congratulations on your address. And a quick burst of what you thought was the central attraction of Mario Cuomo's nominating speech.
I don't know whether to say he's a poor politician or he puts music to message with the way he puts it, but he brings comfort. When he walks in, there's a sense that it's going to be all right, that he feels, understands, and can say it. And the reason why say it is so important in the beginning was the word. There's power in the word, and he says the word with authenticity and a moral authority. You just kind of feel it all over the room.
But the last time in 1984, when he made the great the great keynote speech, the Democrats were barely able to carry one state.
Well, look at the difference. At that time, there was an economic growth rate of 6%. Reagan was a very popular incumbent. And, of course, Mondale, who was a good man but ran on raising taxes, that was exploited. And so it was the context. Now you have this depression. You have 10 million unemployed. You have plants closing. There's a sense that people know there must be a way out. I think that when Bill Clinton talks about values plus, in some sense now the guy like Cuomo on board is Clinton plus Cuomo. It's It's Clinton plus Democratic leadership. It's Clinton plus Jackson. The plus factor begins to give breadth and strength to this ticket, even to help guide this direction. I remind people over and over again that Roosevelt ran not on a New Deal ticket. He ran on balance the budget. But the people plus his will to moved into a New Deal. I think that's what we're looking at here.
You're talking positively. You're talking up the ticket. But listen, you know, I know, and everybody in this hall knows, you have some problems with the way Governor Clinton has conducted the convention and thus far has conducted the campaign. Let's talk candidly. Where are the problems?
Well, for example, there was the problem of making room for Jerry Brown's 4 million voters and the 600 delegates. That adjustment has been made. That's a growth. During the campaign, there was a kind of strategy of being distanced from mayors. Many of them came on very late, from Labor, from the Rainbow. But slowly but surely, it seems that the opening is coming. It's significant to me that Governor Clinton supports D.C. statehood and on-site same-day registration. These have been big fights this year, raising minimum wage and indexing minimum wage for working poor people, a willingness to tax the rich and the powerful, and to cut the military budget and reinvest in America. These programs begin to go to the heart of the new opportunities. And that's what the struggle has been about, opening up the party and creating more possibilities. I do not like any theory of suburb or inner city, black or white. Let's talk big tent and make room for all of us under one tent. That's what equal protection under the law means to me.
What about the theory that Jesse Jackson's influence in the Democratic Party is waning, and one of the reasons it's waning, to quote a newspaper headline, is that Bill Clinton went eye to eye with Jesse Jackson and Jesse Jackson blinked?
Well, that's kind of foolish and provocative. I don't have the same influence here I had in AD. I'm not a candidate. I'm here as a Democrat, as a senator from Washington, D.C. And I think we should not get trapped trying to measure who and where we are by popularity, but rather by will to serve. It finally comes down to, is there a will to serve? I have that will to serve. I spoke at the NAACP convention today in Nashville, Tennessee, making the same case that we measure the greatness of our nation by how we treat the least of these, not who is the most popular among us, but who has the greatest will to serve our children, our poor, our old, and those who want a job. And so I would keep focused, and I would like to think on the moral imperative as the measurement, not by fickle polls. Let's talk real stuff.
Reverend Jackson, always good to see you. We're going to go up now to Charles Corral. Charlie?
Dan, you know, I'm still in the glow of that Cuomo speech. Mario Cuomo is like one of those three-way light bulbs. He had been going around telling people to expect a 75-watt speech from him tonight. He said he was going to stay on dim so as not to put Bill Clinton in the shade. And then he stepped up here tonight and delivered a genuine 250-watter speech, bright and hot enough to light up this dark room. I think tonight was Cuomo's night, as last night was Jesse Jackson's. And in spite of all the indecision about Cuomo's own future, he may still have one in the Democratic Party. The Democrats have been at pains, as you must have noticed, to make room on this program this week for the party leaders of the future. By contrast, the candidates of the immediate past, Michael Dukakis and Walter Mondale, were introduced tonight in exactly 15 seconds each, and before the television networks signed on. Politics can be very cruel. I'm afraid the Clinton people who are running this convention don't want voters even to think about Dukakis and Mondale. We have been out and around the country today asking television viewers what has impressed them about the Democratic convention so far, and the answer so far is overwhelmingly the women of the party. All those women Senate candidates, some of whom look like winners this fall, and Ann Richards, the Texas governor, and emphatically Barbara Jordan, who excited the convention night before last. Senator Ted Kennedy predicted in this hall tonight that the day is coming when the Senate will be mainly women. So we're about to have a roll call vote on this floor. It's to nominate a president, but I just wanted to mention that there is a lot more going on here than a presidential nomination, namely the slamming of a door on the past of the Democratic Party and a showcase and a prophecy of what they hope will be this party's future. Dan?
Thanks, Charles. Let's go to the podium just back here now, and Bob Schieffer, who's with New York Governor Mario Cuomo. Bob?
Until then, I had said what I said in 1988, which was in 1987, actually, that I didn't think they should invite me to a convention to speak. because I had been given an opportunity in 1984, and you should select somebody like McCurdy, and I named him, like Nancy Pelosi, put them up there, let them get the publicity, and then you've created a new force for your party. I said, with me, you get nothing additional. You know, whatever publicity I can get, I got in 1984. So my theory, my logic was that, you know, let's do it for somebody else. You've got me already. They didn't like the logic. That was about 10 days ago.
Dan, we were just asking the governor before you came to us why and when he decided to make this speech, and when Governor Clinton asked him to do it. And I'm going to ask you again, Governor, you just spoke to Governor Clinton after making the speech, and tell us what he said.
Well, Governor Clinton said he liked the speech a lot, and I told the governor that it was a very easy speech to make. That as a lawyer, I've made some cases for people where I had to strain, but that's not the case with Bill Clinton. I told him that there's a lot more I can say on his behalf and Al Gore's behalf, and Matilda and I and everybody in this state who are Democrats are going to be doing that between now and the campaign's end on Election Day.
Governor, thank you very much. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks, Bob. And Governor Cuomo has that smile and that easy, relieved, relaxed, confident look. He thinks he knows he put it in the upper deck here for Bill Clinton tonight. Bill Clinton counting on Mario Cuomo to help him make it with northern, urban, blue-collar workers who the last 3 elections have voted Republican where before they voted Democrat. Our CBS News coverage of the National Democratic Convention will continue in a moment, so stay here with us.
Routine, rugged, grueling, day after day. It's even harder when athlete's foot routinely comes back. But today, there's prescription strength Lotrimin AF. Many types of fungus can cause athlete's foot, but Lotrimin AF is a broad spectrum medicine, so it kills them all. No wonder it's the brand most recommended by doctors. So while there's no finish line for you, there is for your athlete's foot. Lotrimin AF.
For years, I've been eating this healthy, boring stuff because of...
Eating healthy, Stephanie?
The voice. Well, I've had it. I want taste, indulgence. Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats.
But, Steph, Frosted Mini Wheats are good for you.
Pay no attention.
There's whole grain wheat.
There's frosting.
No salt, and they're fat-free, see?
No, I don't see.
Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats. Surprise! They're good for you.
Ignore the voice. Enjoy the frosting.
CBS News live coverage of the Democratic National Convention will continue.
While he's polishing the Big Apple, these people are polishing his image. Who are they and how are they doing it? Find out tomorrow. Also, if you think ballet is just women in tutus and men in tights, think again. Russia's Kirov Ballet is here, and they're definitely not just another dance troupe. See them tomorrow on CBS This Morning with Harry Smith and Paula Zahn.
Burt Talks with Men from the Country, Randy Travis.
I was arrested 10, 12 times.
And other Nashville stars. A new Burt Reynolds special Friday on CBS.
This is CBS.
Dave Thomas's daughter Wendy loves ranch dressing, so Dave rustled up a delicious new sandwich, Wendy's Monterey Ranch Chicken Sandwich. It's a whole chicken breast fillet with cheese, but not just any cheese, Monterey Jack. And to top it off, he cooked up a ranch dressing with an extra special touch, real bacon. The Monterey Ranch Chicken Sandwich, a great new taste you can only find at Wendy's.
Hey, Wendy. Oh, well, I guess I have to eat it myself.
A look back at the 82 World's Fair tonight at 10 on News Channel 5.
Campaign 92. CBS News coverage of the Democratic National Convention continues. Live from Madison Square Garden in New York City, here again is Dan Rather.
And on the floor of the Democratic National Convention, the first faint indications that these Democrats, rightly or wrongly, are beginning to believe that they smell a win in November. Sometimes it goes that way at conventions. You begin to sort of feel it and smell it. Sometimes it's actually there, sometimes it isn't. We'll see as time goes along. Right now, let's go to Ed Bradley, who's in the Pennsylvania delegation with a self-described one-time radical. He's now for Bill Clinton. Ed, what's the story?
Dan, I'm with a man who I think represents much of the change that you've seen in the Democratic Party over the last 10, 15, 20 years. John Street, when I met him in the early 70s, was a classic outsider, along with his brother Milton, a radical, a demonstrator, a protester. He was arrested how many times?
Many times.
Many times. Today, he's president of the city council in Philadelphia. What do you think of this ticket?
Well, I think that this ticket is going to sell. What people are concerned about, what's happening in this country. The cities are in terrible, terrible problems. In the city of Philadelphia, we are totally unable to cope with the problems that we have, drugs and crime and the need for health care and the like. And we know that we're going to have to do something in Washington to solve those problems. And I think that this convention and the way the Clinton people and the National Committee have handled it is going to give us a leg up on the November election. And I think that people are really going to be enthusiastic that there can really be some change.
Some people have said that this was a ticket that was aiming more at the suburbs than people in the cities. You agree, disagree?
Well, I really can't tell you why they put the ticket together the way they did. I mean, Clinton, I think, had a right to pick the person with whom he was going to feel most comfortable. But this business of regionalism hasn't ever worked for us in the last several years campaigns, and I don't know why there's any reason we should stick to it now.
One quick question, John. You enthusiastic about this ticket?
Oh, yeah. I'm enthusiastic about the ticket. I'm enthusiastic about the party. And I'm enthusiastic about the way this convention has been run and the hope that it gives us for November.
Thank you very much. Dan, back to you.
Ed Bradley, thanks. And from the floor of the convention, we're going to try something a little new here, and let's carry on a conversation with the former governor of Massachusetts, one-time candidate for president of the United States, Michael Dukakis, and his lovely wife, Kitty Dukakis, who is some distance from us, up a little closer to the rafters. Thank you very much for being with us, Governor, and Mrs. Dukakis.
Thanks for having us, Dan.
Governor Dukakis, you got to have some regret that being nominated here tonight was Bill Clinton and not Michael Dukakis being nominated for a second term.
I don't have any regrets about Bill Clinton being nominated. I've known him for 15 years, Dan. He's one of the best people I've ever served with in public life. Would I like to be here as a candidate for re-election? Sure I would, but it didn't happen. We've got a great ticket. We've got a great opportunity here to provide this country with new leadership, and I'm as enthusiastic as anybody in this hall and a lot of people outside about this ticket. It's been a great convention, and they're going to go out of here with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy, and lots of opportunity to win this thing.
Governor, there is some indication now that Bill Clinton may actually come out of this convention leading in the polls, as you did coming out of Atlanta in 1988. What are the dangers for him if he walks out of here with momentum going his way and even leading in the polls?
Dan, I respect you, and I respect all of the folks in the national media. I have one urgent request. Stop taking polls. They don't mean anything at this point. The only thing these polls tell us is that about 75% of the American people want a new president. And Bill Clinton and Al Gore now have to go out across this country and persuade an angry, frustrated, but always hopeful electorate that they are the people to provide this country with the leadership we need. But these polls aren't worth the powder to blow them to hell, to tell you the truth at this point. What's important now is for us to focus on issues, for them to go out there across the country and talk about their vision for this country. If they do that, they're going to win, and I think they're going to win decisively.
Mrs. Dukakis, if I can bring you into this for a moment. Obviously, in fact, Governor Clinton has confirmed, but a decision was made some time ago to try to lower the profile and change the direction of Mrs. Clinton's campaigning. You think that was a mistake?
Well, I think that you have to make adjustments in campaigns, and I've known Hillary, as I've known Bill Clinton, for close to 15 years. She is an extraordinary woman with wonderful qualities. She will be a great First Lady. And I think she is doing what spouses need to do in her position. She is making adjustments, and I think that's just fine. I think she has been a model for people all over this country and will continue to be. I applaud all of her efforts, and I just think she will be a terrific First Lady of this country. She is a woman of the 90s.
Governor Dukakis, very quickly, this ticket obviously has a lot of Southern comfort in it. Does it have a chance to carry the big industrial northeastern states it must if Bill Clinton's to be elected?
I think so, Dan. You know, for one thing, Al Gore is a national figure in his own right. Bill Clinton now is known across this country. And I think the advantages of regional balance have been exaggerated. Sure, I think it was an extra bonus for me to pick a Lloyd Bentsen who happened to come from Texas. But frankly, if he'd come from Montana, I would have picked him. If he'd come from Mississippi, I would have picked him. I picked him because he could be a great president if called upon to do so, and would have been a very strong and good vice president. And knowing Bill Clinton as I do, I know that's exactly why he picked Al Gore. I think Al Gore will be tremendously helpful to this ticket in the West because of environmental leadership. I think he's going to have great appeal for us in the Northeast because he's done so much in the area of new technologies and competitive industries and these kinds of things. So I think he provides some very real national balance, and the fact that these two candidates happen to come from Arkansas and Tennessee, I think is really irrelevant in a broad national sense. They're going to be a good national ticket.
Governor Dukakis, Mrs. Dukakis, thank you very much for being with us. Our CBS News coverage from the floor of the National Democratic Convention continues in a moment.
Some people, it's not mine.
Crisp, clean Dentine. We'll take care of your breath. The rest is up to you.
Hi. Didn't I see you here yesterday?
Trouble with heartburn? Well, you could change your lifestyle. Or better still, reach for Rolaids. It works fast to bring 100% relief to millions. So maybe you can't change your life, but you can get relief. Rolaids spells relief.
Who are you going to call the most this month?
My parents. I travel a lot, so I call back home quite often. I call my sister back in Ohio.
With Sprint's new program, The Most, you'll automatically save on whoever you call the most each month.
Steve?
And with The Most, you'll also save every time you call one of the millions of other Sprint customers.
This month it'll probably be Greg.
My daughter in Las Vegas.
Next month, who knows?
The thing's perfect for her.
This was me before I lost 34 pounds in 5 months.
That was actually me before I lost 42 pounds in 5 months.
That was me before I lost 40 pounds in 6 months.
They all did it on the Ultra Slim Fast No Hunger Diet Plan. A delicious shake for breakfast, another for lunch, a sensible dinner, and 3 great tasting Ultra Slim Fast snacks a day.
And the snacks helped me through the hungry parts.
Chocolate bars, what's better than that? It's great.
The Ultra Slim Fast No Hunger Diet Plan. Losing weight and feeling great.
In a world of sweeping changes, there is one certainty. The financial strength of the Rock. The Prudential Rock Solid.
All-star Wade Boggs leads the Red Sox against Kirby Puckett and the reigning World Series champion Twins. Saturday, 1 o'clock Eastern on CBS.
This summer, discover exciting Sicily.
What?
The vacation paradise where love is in the air.
Wildness.
See your travel agent at Northern Exposure Monday.
Bo loves CBS shows. Bo would love to have his own CBS show. Perhaps Murphy Bo. Or Redesigning Bo. Or Murder Bo wrote. Bo just has one condition.
Yes, of course.
Bo would like to star in 2 shows at one time.
On the floor of the convention in Madison Square Garden, all the talk, as you expect, would be is about Governor Mayor Cuomo's nominating speech tonight for Bill Clinton. There's other good news for Bill Clinton, and Bob Schieffer on the podium has more about that. Bob?
Oh, thank you, Dan. As we went on the air, we were saying that some polling CBS News has been doing this week shows that this convention is beginning to work for Governor Clinton, creating the impression outside this hall, changing the impression of Bill Clinton outside this hall. We now have a moment and we can give you some of those numbers. Look at these figures. 3 weeks ago, Bill Clinton had an unfavorable rating of 40%, and it had been that way for months. Last week, that dipped down to 31%, and since this convention has been on this week, according to our new polling, it has shrunk to 24%. Now, that is just a part of it. His favorable rating, which was at 16% in June, rose to 20% last week and then jumped to 29% this week. So for the first time since March, Bill Clinton's favorable rating is running higher than his unfavorable rating. There's some more good news in the poll for Clinton. Only 40% looked on him as a strong leader last week. Since the convention began this week, that percentage has risen to 60%. And he is now looked on as the candidate who can best bring about change. 41% felt that way about him last week, compared to 30% who see Perot as a candidate of change, and now only 15% feel that way about George Bush. I should say this week, 41% now see Bill Clinton as a candidate of change. As you and I know, Dan,